Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, we want to present our experience in using the biological collagen mesh in patients with weight regain and dilatation of the stomach after gastric bypass and sleeve gastrectomy. We know that approximately 20% of patients have this problem after these bariatric operations. And when we examine these patients, trying to find out the cause of their weight regain or insufficient weight loss, we always find the dilatation of the pouch or anastomosis after gastric bypass or dilatation of the sleeve after sleeve gastrectomy. What we can do trying to help these patients? Among these options, we like the last one best of all, silicone ring around the anastomosis or sleeve. We like it because it's a simple and reliable. On the other hand, it's three disadvantages. It's a foreign body. The ring is any other silicone bands can give a slippage. We have patients with silicone ring slippage after gastric bypass. This ring has very narrow surface, only few millimeters. It means that the ring has a pressure of the very local area of the gastric wall. And this very local pressure potentially can result in erosions of the ring into the stomach. We decided that it would be better to enforce the gastric wall not locally, but as extended as possible, ideally throughout the wall area of dilatation. So we decided to wrap a white mesh around the dilated part of the stomach. We remember that the research works of the Lawrence Wilkinson, those publications date back to 1980s. He designed a textile covering of the stomach in patients with obesity. He achieved excellent results in weight loss in those patients, but unfortunately many of them developed erosions of the synthetic covering into the stomach. Keeping in mind the possibility of erosions, we decided not to use the synthetic materials. So we used two biological meshes, permacool mesh and cardioplant mesh. Permacool is made of porcine skin. It's 100% cross-linked collagen. It contains no cells, no animal DNA. The other kind of the mesh was cardioplant, also a cross-linked collagen, but made of bovine pericardium. Cross-linked collagen is a result of specific processing of biological material, and the resulted collagen cannot be easily broken down by the collagenase. But why cross-linked collagen has a very long period of survival in the human body, at least several years, very slowly and gradually replaced by own human collagen. So, potentially, it's not a foreign body. Both kinds of the materials have been used in surgery for many years with good results. We started bariatric permacool in January 2013. This presentation includes 36 patients in whom permacool was installed as supraanastomotic wrap after gastric bypass. We took the strip of permacool 3 on 6 centimeter, wrapping it above the anastomosis. The width of implant was always 3 centimeter. But the length of the strip was adapted to the specific anatomy situation. If the perimeter of permacool wrap was too loose, we was cut the necessary length. The length of the trimmed mesh was from 5 to 6 centimeter. During the surgery, the anastomosis was dissected. The permacool mesh wrapped around the pouch 1 centimeter above the anastomosis and sutured end to end using a fine, non-resolvable suture. It was very important to suture the permacool mesh on the 10 millimeter gastric calibration tube inserted into the anastomosis. As I said before, we started bariatric permacool in January 2013. By now, permacool wrap was installed in 36 patients after gastric bypass. The used materials gave the adverse effects. The mean weight loss was 11 kilograms from 3 to 25. 4 patients developed problems with water and food passage through the narrowing. it was a subjective feeling on patients, because during the contrast swallow study, we were able to see the contrast pass into the intestine. Nevertheless, those patients asked to do something to improve the passage. Permacol is very durable material with very low distensibility, and the attempts to make a balloon dilatation were unsuccessful. In all those 4 patients, we had to do a secondary operation and to remove the suture from the permacol edges without removing the implant itself. After that, the edges of permacol moved apart a few millimeters that gave immediately effect to improvement of the passage. At the same time, the positive effect of restriction continued to persist. The other kind of implant which we used is a collagen mesh made of bovine pericardium. It's also a cross-linked collagen which survives in the human body for at least several years. In comparison to permacol, this mesh is really very soft and has a certain degree of elasticity. The material has been successfully used in surgery, basically in cardiovascular surgery. In general surgery, it's used for hernias, including diaphragm hernia surgery. We use the biological mesh since March 2015 for narrowing of the dilated anastomosis after Roux-en-Y gastric bypass. But the basically use the cardioplant in patients with a dilated sleeve. We know that the upper of the part of the stomach is usually very prone to dilatation. The operation begins from complete dissection of the upper of the stomach from the abdominal esophagus to the level of the left gastric artery. This part is approximately 5 centimeters of length. When we take the cardioplant mesh 6 on 8 centimeters, wrap it around the dissected stomach, where measurements, and then trim according to their specific anatomy situation. Then the angles of the middle of the mesh are connected with knot sutures, and then the mesh is sutured edge to edge with running suture. So by now we have an experience of 181 operations. By now the weight loss in those patients is from 3 to 15 kilograms. Taking into account that these surgeries were performed in patients with low weight, it's a not bad result. All their patients are happy now. They reported that they feel food restriction like immediately after their first operation. This method also gave a very interesting side effect. If the patients were complaining of heartburn before the secondary surgery, in all of them, heartburn disappeared immediately after wrapping. Conclusions. The use of collagen matrix in patients with a stomach dilatation after gastric bypass or sleeve gastrectomy can return the background level of restriction. There were no evident problems connected with the use of the biological mesh in bariatric surgery. Thank you for your attention.